Welcome to World at Work TV. I'm Allison Avalos, and I'm joined today by Mark Briggs of Cardinal Health and Donya Rose of Towers Watson. And we're talking about how the HR business partner can contribute to effective selling. First, start off by talking about why this should be important for HR and why there's an opportunity to lead this.
The role of the HRBP has changed much in the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years. That role's become quite a bit more consultative, maybe the broker of many of the center of expertise areas within the human resources discipline. That actually has positioned the HRBP to participate and lead the design of sales compensation plan. They interact with sales leadership on a regular basis. They actually are the ringmaster for the design process, and it's the opportunity for them actually to broker expertise from the corporate compensation area, as well as pull in the people to the table that are needed in order to effectively design and implement sales compensation plans.
Is there something that's changed about HR deployment that has led or is leading to a new opportunity in the space for HR leaders?
We're seeing in consulting, of course, we look across a lot of different clients. More and more HR involvement in the sales compensation planning process, whereas there has been a lot of history of sales compensation plans designed by sales leaders, by finance. As the calculation complexity grows and the sales operations function gets established, sometimes that function has taken over as the lead designer there. And all of those functional areas have a really important role to play. But in the end, it's compensation. And so having the HR comp people involved is really important, and having the HR business partner, whose role I believe has become more of a business partner, involved and active in the design of compensation plans is, in my view, increasingly prevalent. You see it more and more and in more companies. There are still those companies where HR is somehow excluded from sales compensation design. And there are very few where HR is really central. But what I'm seeing is more and more value creation by HR, primarily through the HR business partners' involvement.
Do HR business leaders need to make that business case, though? Are there risks associated with the sales ops team managing this, or specific arguments, if you will, to better support this idea of HR business leaders really heading this way?
I do believe that there are risks for this. One of the primary risks is entering into that role, coming to the table maybe without all the tools, without knowledge of how, what's the natural order of how a sales compensation plan is designed. Who are the right people that are to be at the table? So the risks would be an HR business partner arrives with their hand in the air to do the work, and then fails to kind of bring the right people to the table, fails to bring the right tool set to ask the right questions, to ask the strategic aligning questions, to move towards defining and getting the rightful measures into the plan. So there are risks to that, and it takes a lot of dedication to learning how that should go.
I'd say there also are risks to not having the HR person involved, which is an interesting one. Sometimes I have a top that I wear sometimes when I'm going to client engagements. It's got black and white stripes going across it, and it's appropriate business attire. But I love it because it sort of represents the referee nature of what we sometimes end up doing. Oftentimes, who we're refereeing among is finance, sales leadership, and sales operations. And HR kind of, what does finance want? Finance probably wants to minimize the cost of the compensation plans and stop that crazy upside. What do the salespeople want? The salespeople want attainable goals. They want to be able to retain their best talent, and it looks like they just want to spend money. But what they're trying to do is retain their best talent and motivate their people so they can hit their numbers. What does sales ops want? Sales ops wants a straightforward plan that's orderly and sensible to administer. What does HR bring to that? Ideally, HR brings the interest of the employee and the company together to try to create a more balanced view. So all of those stakeholders belong in this discussion. HR, I believe, is uniquely positioned to wear my black and white striped shirt, to get in there and be the order keeper, the facilitator, the arbitrator, and the place that values and respects all of those points of view, but isn't any of them, and is there on behalf of the employee and the good of the business.
So what tips then would you have for HR professionals that find themselves in that role?
The HR leadership needs to arrange the various expertise resources which within the HR function. HRBPs need to be positioned in the businesses to face off with the leadership teams, and especially as it relates to HRBPs that support sales teams and sales organizations, that takes a careful alignment, and for HR leadership to get the compensation resources, perhaps in the case of Cardinal Health, a sales compensation design resource that's positioned to support the HRBPs in that work.
If you've got everyone positioned in the right place, are there any specific considerations that these HR professionals should be looking for? Donya, you were talking about everyone in their unique role and their unique and their unique perspective of how they view sales and the sales role and how that sales role should be compensated. What should the HR professional be thinking about as they're doing this refereeing work in the ultimate effort to design and administer an effective sales compensation plan?
I'd say creating real buy-in. If you can have those three sometimes at odds stakeholders understand each other's point of view and collaboratively come to decisions that all of them would say were their own. It may not be their favorite, but that they fully support, everything goes much more smoothly. There are lots of great ideas and compensation plans that could work for any one sales role. I firmly believe there is not a right answer. There are more wrong answers than right answers, but there are a lot of right answers. But one of the key characteristics of the right answer is that it's affordable in your business model, finance is happy. Salespeople, sales leaders know how to take that tool, which is the sales comp plan, and use it to manage and motivate their people. That tool is comfortable in their hands. And sales ops has got to be able to administer the thing accurately, on time, and in an orderly way. So really respecting all of those points of view and looking for that one of all of the many things that can work that really meets all of those people's needs best, and serving as the facilitator for that process is huge value creation. Then, once there's a good decision and a good plan design, HR can take a very traditional HR role in change management, in helping make sure that everyone who needs to understand something about this, how we got here, what the plan is, how it works, how we're going to administer it, what the reports need to, there's a lot of, now that we've got a decision, it's not done. Everyone who needs to understand all those things has got the kinds of communication that's going to really enable them to understand it, and in the case of some of those people, enable them to turn around and communicate it to the next level in the organization in a confident, persuasive, empowering, motivating way. And that's something that probably, of all those functional areas, HR is best poised to do, and perhaps even bringing in at that point some of their colleagues from marketing or communication in the organization or outside.
What's the biggest mistake each of you has seen an HR business leader make in their work with sales compensation?
I've seen, and this is a large mistake, is an HRBP believing that they need to be the expert about sales compensation design. they're more like the ringmaster. They don't have to be the one, nor should they be the one to give the answer. They have to educate. That's how they're going to be doing the influencing. And they have to create process and discipline around the design work. Again, getting the right people to the table, understanding alignments to the sales objectives and business goals, but not being there to give the answer. That's a large mistake that I've seen.
The other side of that, just slamming up against the other end of the spectrum here, would be the HR leader who too quickly acquiesces to any of those constituencies. So in any one organization, you can have powerful finance, powerful sales, usually not powerful sales ops, but in a powerful finance organization, it may be that some leader in finance gets out an envelope, gets out his pencil and designs the sales comp plan and just kind of pushes it down. And HR dutifully takes notes and starts into communication mode without really asking the questions or listening while the salespeople are over there squawking and saying they don't like it. More often, I would see it go the other way, where the sales leaders are designing the comp plan and threatening everybody with dire revenue shortfalls if you don't do what I tell you you have to do this year with this plan. And so if the HR business partner is too passive and doesn't bring the right constituents to the discussion, not that they have to have the main points or take the strongest position, I think their role is best when they are just making sure everyone who has a valuable point of view and important information to provide is heard. They can really create value. So if they're too passive, Mark just suggested they could be a little overconfident and step outside of their real expertise and try to be everything. If they don't step up to be something, you can also see some problems.
So there needs to be some balance.
Balance.
Thank you both. For World at Work TV, I'm Allison Avalos.